I'm going to show you two motion blurs, one for Davinci Resolve and one for Davinci Resolve Studio, the paid version. So first open up Davinci Resolve. So you need to go to Settings and change your frame rate to 60. I already have it on 60 here, but if you don't, click 60, and then you can change this to whichever resolution matches your clip. 1080p is my clip, so I'm going to keep it there. Because if you don't render in 60 frames per second, the motion blur won't be smooth. Trust me, I've done this before. At least it won't be as smooth. Now click Save. Now you've officially converted your project to 60 frames per second. Now you need to grab your clip next and drag it into your timeline. Now it's in here. So I've got this clip of me. You saw that at the beginning of the video. Now I'm going to show you how to do it in Davinci Resolve. So what you want to do is select it by clicking it, the clip, and then you want to go to the Fusion section. Then you want to press Shift Space and then look for Optical Flow, and then click this, and then click Add, and then you want to search for Vector Motion Blur, then click Add, and then you want to drag it in the way I'm dragging these. So you have to take it and press Shift at the same time so that you can connect it to the timeline. Then wait till the line is blue, and while lining it up, and then let go of both your mouse and your Shift key. Now do the exact same with Vector Motion Blur, except right after the optical flow. It's very important that you put it after the optical flow so that the motion blur works well. Now, for the settings of the motion blur, you can go to Scale to change how much motion blur. To demonstrate, I'm just going to do Scale 3. And this is what it looks like with one frame, which is a lot of motion blur, but that's just because this thing, kind of clip, has a lot of motion in it. And then there are also other settings, but I wouldn't mess with these because this is really the only kind of setting you really need for this type of motion blur. After doing this, you can go back to your clip, but you can see that it's very glitchy. If you try to play it, you won't be able to. You might hear the sounds, but you won't be able to play it because you have to export it first. So then go to the Deliver page, change the file name to whatever you'd like, then make sure these match your settings of your content, then click Add to Render Queue, and then you can choose where you want to keep it. Then click Render All and wait for it to render. I'll come back when it's rendered. And also, this version processes a lot slower than the studio version, but you will get great motion blur with this. It just takes time, so you need to be patient. Now I'll get back to you when it's fully processed and I'll show you the clip. And now you can see it's completed. And now I'm going to play the clip for you.
Hunter-killer drone on standby.
And that was the clip. Now let's go back here and let's go and delete these optical flow and vector motion blur. Now put it back. Or you can open a new project. Just remember to go to Settings and change the frame rate to 60 and match the resolution with your content. So for the settings, it's exactly the same. Now, I'm going to show you how to do it in the studio version, which is paid. And here you can see that I didn't add any blur. So now, you want to select the clip again. Then you need to go to the colors page this time. And then you need to click this motion tab. Originally, it might be on one of these, but you must click on the motion effects tab. Then you need to select the clip. If you haven't already highlighted it, you can click here and you'll have a mini timeline. You'll have multiple clips to select here if you have multiple clips on your timeline currently. But right now we just have one. So we have to go to the motion blur section. Then you need to click this and you can choose which one you want. But I always use better and it gives you better results. Faster just gives you a faster export. Then don't come to this yet. Go through here and find an area with a lot of motion. So for example, let's do it while I'm walking. So here. Then you need to turn up and down the motion blur levels here. I'm gonna turn it up to 75 so that it's more noticeable. And now just wait until it starts to get blurred. I think it's now blurred. And you can see there's motion here, but right now we're on medium, so we have to choose which one we like. So there's small, medium, and large. I'm gonna choose large so that you guys can notice it. Right now it's not changing because I haven't let it process yet, but you need to wait for it to process if you want to see what you want to get in motion blur conditions. So after selecting your settings, you go to the export page and export it exactly how you did it before. I'm naming this one E Pro instead of E so that you can see that this one's the Pro motion blur because it's used with the paid version. So you need to click Add to Render Queue, close this one, and then click Render All. Like I said earlier, this one will render faster. You can see that it's already much faster than the previous one that we did. Here's some footage when I was speaking to you in the beginning, but I will get back to you once it's finished processing. Here, I like the look of this motion blur already more than the other one. That's why I call this one better, and I will describe all of the advantages later at the end of the video. Now, I'll see you later. And now it's done, so I'm going to show you the clip.
Hunter killer drone on standby.
And that was the Pro motion blur. And now I'm gonna put those two side by side so that you guys can see the difference. And then I'll show you, and then I'll tell you all of the better stuff about each one's, the pros and cons. So this is them side by side.
Killer drone on standby.
So we're gonna open up both, but we're not gonna play them. We're gonna compare while it's not like kinda playing so that you can see the difference in frames. So let's open up both. So you can see here, it's more of a zoom blur, while here, it's kind of more of a like side to side blur because it does this special effect with the like kind of more pro. Well, this one is tracking the further frame, but this one auto chooses the correct frame to track, and that's what makes the quality kind of better in this one rather than this one in the first frame. So now we can move a few frames here. So let's count the frames. Let's go back to the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now let's move 10 frames here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's the exact same frame now. You can see that this one is kind of more of a like more optical flowy blur because we added optical flow, which I like, but there's this one which has more samples but also adds extra optical flow to it so that it's smooth. So it's RSMB motion blur rather than the scaled down kind of other motion blur. Let's make this bigger so you can see a bit better, and they're more identical in size. So now let's move this to some area. So this is 252. So let's move it to 252. So 252 is right here. These are the same. And I'll let you make the assumptions. So pause the video if you want to make assumptions because this is the most important comparison. Okay, so now you can see this actually shows less of the bullets because there's more blur because there is kind of a difference in amounts of blur. But here you can see that there's another one. But I think that's just a sample because this actually shows the samples, and it specifically shows a different amount of samples for a different amount of motion because it's auto and it's RSMB rather than this one which is all the same amounts of samples and it doesn't auto change. Now here you can see that this guy is less in focus than here because this one optimizes also for quality while this one optimizes just for blur because this has more features. Although this one can look cooler with the kind of more text blur. I personally don't like too much text blurred, but that can be a cool kind of thing. Now if we zoom in, you can see that here, this, you can't even make out the numbers, but here it auto changes it, it identifies it, and it makes it so you're slightly able to see it. It says on my screen 23, I think, but my screen is not too large, so I won't be able to tell. So you can see for yourself. And so now that is it. That's just the entire tutorial. And now I thank you for watching. I guess I'll see you in the next video. Bye.